Do you want to avoid these and those and those and those and all of those? Great, because in this video, I'm going to share my 6 techniques for running technical trails gracefully and efficiently. Hi, my name is Scott Miller, and this is Trail Ambitions, where I talk about things that may improve your trail running. And for you intermediate and advanced runners, make sure to watch through to the end, as I'll share an advanced training technique that you can use to test yourself on the mastery of these techniques. Let's get started. Technique number 1, keep your feet underneath you. Start with a short stride, keeping your feet at a 90 beats per minute cadence. Avoid reaching or overstriding. Always increase the number of steps rather than reducing them if you're in a questionable situation. If you are moving too fast, especially as you're approaching a technical section, use a stutter step to slow yourself down while maintaining more control. So we can count these by pulling our elbows back. So left 2, 3, right 2, 3, left 2, right 2, 3. Obviously I'm holding the camera, so I'm not pulling my right elbow back. But we're looking for a nice, steady, short stride. Now the speed can vary based on our stride length. So no matter what, we're just keeping this 90 beats per minute. Left 2, 3, right. So the opposite of keeping your feet underneath you is where you're taking long strides, reaching for rocks, jumping from rock to rock, going from one side of the trail to the other side of the trail very aggressively to avoid rocks or jump on rocks. By doing that, you're leaving yourself exposed to, a log breaking, a rock moving, or something that is going to put you in a very awkward position. So as you step on something, it may move, in which case you're then off balance. By keeping the stride short and under your body, you're then able to navigate through the technical rocks with ease. Another advantage of a short stride and keeping your feet underneath you is that there's a lot of contact with the ground. So it can also be used as a braking mechanism. So as you're coming into a technical section, let's say you're running very quickly and you get surprised by a technical section, or you round a corner and there's a technical section, rather than, applying some brakes and putting a lot of pressure on your quads or risking sliding on some loose rock or loose gravel, what you can do is come into that corner and then stutter step very quickly to slow yourself down. So as I'm coming in very quickly, I see a technical section, I do a couple of short stutter steps, and it immediately slows me down, and it keeps my feet underneath me in good control. Technique number 2, relax your body to reduce effort. Start with a good rhythmic breathing. I prefer 2 in and 2 out, and I want to coordinate that or time it with my cadence. Whatever feels comfortable, but you want to have a good rhythmic breathing that you don't really think about. You're doing it naturally. Sense the tension in your body, especially in your shoulders, and then breathe into that part of your body to relax it. When, not if, but when you fall, it is easier to move your body to catch yourself if it's not all tensed up. If your body's all tensed up, you technically have to release your muscles, in a sense, to be able to shift them, to re-engage them. So that process of relaxing the muscle or releasing the muscle, moving it, re-engaging, takes much longer than if you're already in a somewhat relaxed state and just shifting your body as the flow goes and then engaging it to catch yourself. Keep your body relaxed. Now, this is going to sound very counterintuitive, because when you're running technical trails, especially aggressively, the last thing on your mind is going to be relax your body. Chances are you're in a hyper awareness state and you're totally focused. But the thing you want to think about here is that if and when you trip, because you will, you try to catch yourself, if you're all tensed up, it's very slow to move. It's very difficult, in fact. And so what you technically have to do is relax that part of the body, or basically release those muscles to be able to move them to then catch yourself again. So that act of, I'm all tensed up, I trip, your brain's thinking, I'm about to face plant, I'm falling. Release that muscle, put your foot out, catch yourself. Those are additional steps that are not necessary if you're already in somewhat of a relaxed state. So running with a relaxed state makes you flow easier. When you trip, you don't have to release that muscle to re-engage it. You're already in a somewhat relaxed state and you can just kind of move with the flow. So being relaxed and a short stride with your feet underneath you allows you to really flow through the technical sections. And when you fall, because we all do, you're able to catch yourself and recover with less strain in hopefully most cases. The key here is to relax into the shoulders. I usually carry my stress in my shoulders, so I'm all tensed up. I can feel it. I'm tight. My neck's tight. My upper body's tight. My core is tight, and everything is all tense. But I can also keep my core tight for stability, and I can breathe into my shoulders and feel those relaxed. And then my upper body is more fluid. So allowing you to move more easily because you're relaxed. So a lot of that has to do with being able to breathe. Just picture yourself breathing, and I'm thinking about my shoulders, and those are relaxed. So it's a state of this conscious awareness of keep that body relaxed. While you're doing that, you then can get into a rhythm with your breathing. So first think, I'm relaxed. Next, think about your breathing. So I like to do 2 in, 2 out. Now you can do 1 big in, 2 out, 3 in, 2 out, 2 in, 3 out, whatever number works for you. But it will work with the 90 beats per minute that I was talking about in technique number 1. So left, 2, 3. So it's now, obviously I was exaggerating that, but it could be, that's more of a 1 in, 2 out. Let's see, you could do that's a 3 in, 1 out. I don't know. Whatever works for you. It should be natural and it should just flow, and it gives you this rhythm that works with your feet. So it's 90 beats per minute and you're just flowing nice and easy. So whatever, and maybe you haven't thought about this before, and this might be an aha moment for you. So by having that rhythm in your breathing, it will prevent you from holding your breath or not breathing as heavily as or as much as you should in a technical situation. When your body is low on that oxygen it needs, it's going to get tired quicker. If you're breathing very rapidly and you're expelling all of the oxygen that your muscles need, they're going to tire quickly. A lot of this is about, reducing exhaustion so that your mind is solid and can navigate through a technical section. Your muscles need oxygen. So making sure that you continue to breathe as you're moving through a technical section. And if that technical section is very long, then, holding your breath or not breathing very well for a long period of time is definitely going to impact your ability to run, think, and be coordinated for that matter. And it's important to have that breathing rhythm just naturally be there with your cadence. And so work on that even on non-technical sections. It's there. So as it gets more technical, you're not having to think about it. You're just breathing as you normally would. And so your body's getting the oxygen that it needs. Technique number 3, focus on the dirt between the rocks. This is my favorite technique of all of these. So if there's one takeaway, remember this one. If you focus on the dirt between the rocks, you'll notice that dirt is actually flat. It's the rocks and the roots and everything else that kind of make it uneven. So by focusing just on the dirt, you're focusing on flat sections of the trail. If you then keep your heels off the ground, so hit the ground and then raise your heels right away rather than sliding them, you'll be able to run on a relatively flat surface. As you spend more time on the trail and your runs get longer, you want to remember that everything that you do is cumulative. So if you're doing a lot of jumping or a lot of thinking, it will wear you out over time. So you want to minimize effort right from the beginning so you have more energy to sustain throughout the run. Trying to focus on every rock, stump, root is exhausting. So if you can focus on just the dirt between the rocks and everything else becomes noise by keeping your heels up, it reduces your cognitive load because you're not having to think about everything. You're just focusing on where you want to place your feet. So the key is that I'm focusing just on that part of the trail. Everything else I ignore to the point where it all becomes one thing. There's the section where I want to put my foot and everything else. So cognitively, it's much less for me to think about. I don't have to think about, oh, there's a rock over there. There's one over there. That rock's loose. That one's not. It becomes just one thing. And then the other thing is where I'm going to place my foot. Or if it's a very technical section where there's too many rocks, I'm looking for the flat sections on the rocks. And then I'm running up on the rocks, maybe in a scree field or something where it's very congested. It does take some time to learn this technique, so don't get frustrated because it's not natural to just ignore everything that's dangerous. You need to train your mind, train your body to focus and trust. In the beginning, you are essentially in panic mode 100% of the time, which can wear you out quickly. As you get tired, you'll trip more. As you trip more, you'll lose confidence. Low confidence and exhaustion are not the place you want to be on a technical trail. Reducing the number of things to focus on will definitely lessen your energy drain. This particular technique is my favorite. It's probably the one I've gotten the most benefit out of. So if you look at a trail, you'll see there are, there's dirt sections, obviously, where you're stepping. So when you're trail running, by focusing on the dirt between the rocks, you are essentially focusing on where your feet are going to land. So as you're running, we're running on the dirt between the rocks. And so when you look at those rocks, the dirt between the rocks is smooth. The rocks make it technical. So by focusing just on the dirt, it's a smooth trail. So you can kind of see in front of us, there's dirt spots here, there, and we're just looking for those dirt spots. And that's what we're focusing on. The key is to focus on the dirt where your feet are going to go and then keep your heels up. You have this circular motion with your heels by coming off the ground. So as you're landing, you're bringing your heel up. So it's a circular motion. Keeping your heels up, of course, will prevent them from catching on rocks or stubbing your toes. It's the amount of cognitive load on your brain. So if you're having to think about all of these different rocks, there's a rock, there's a stump, there's a tree, there's a limb, and so forth, all of that, if you're trying to process all that at once, it's a lot to take in. And someone who just goes from road running to trail running, some of the basic trails are going to be very exhausting at first because you're thinking of all these things. As you run trails more and more, you're thinking less about all the things you want to avoid and focusing more on just where you want to go. Technique number 4, continually scanning the trail in front of you, identifying the next several steps in advance. In panic mode or that super focus mode, you are essentially trying to bring those two things, your mind and your body, as close together as possible. And as I mentioned, it's extremely exhausting, not sustainable. I find that a better way is to try to separate your mind from your body, which allows to get your thinking out ahead of your movement. Not by a lot, but just enough to get your mind thinking out in front of your body. A short stride, your feet underneath you, and a relaxed body will enable or allow your mind to do that. By focusing on the dirt between the rocks, it will reduce your cognitive load, making it easier to separate that mind and body. Then with practice, you can start to scan the trail, out in front of you, maybe 5 to 7 feet. What you are doing by scanning 5 to 7 feet is identifying where you're going to be placing your foot. So you can actually identify maybe 1.5 steps ahead of where you're actually stepping. Your feet will go to the place that your mind has focused on. This will become easier as you learn to relax your mind and work at it through repetition. This is how I get myself into a flow state or the zone. Scan the trail in front of you. So as opposed to staring at your feet or looking straight ahead, you need to scan the trail in front of you. And so it's a continuous movement of scanning forward and back so that you can cover all the areas. But the key here is to allow yourself to plan where you're going to step. In order to do this, you have to essentially separate your mind from the rest of your body. Now, again, this is going to sound a little weird perhaps, but if you think about it, your mind is much faster than your body. You can think about things much quicker than you can move your physical body. So therefore, you should be able to get out and kind of plan where your feet are going to go. But where it becomes very difficult is when you're running technical trails, especially aggressively, you get into this panic mode, at least in the beginning. It's a super focus mode. Your mind and your body are essentially connected. And you can do it for short periods of time, which obviously is necessary in a panic situation where your mind just says, run, move, and your body just immediately does it. Yes, panic mode and that super focus mode is great for technical trail running, but you can't do it for very long. You could do it for short distances. If you trip on something, you immediately go to that to protect and save yourself. But while you're running normal trails for a few minutes to a few hours to all day, you can't be in that state of panic or mind-body connection for that long. What I do is I try to separate my mind, get it out in front of my feet. I'm thinking about the next step, maybe step and a half, maybe even 2 steps of where I'm going to step next. My feet naturally will go to where my mind said they were going to go. Your brain basically says step there, step there, step there. It's pretty amazing that when you get in that flow state, you can actually do this. You can get out in front of your body and you can tell it where you're about to step. And so by using this technique with the previous technique of looking at the dirt between the rocks, you now are focusing on that dirt spot, that dirt spot, that dirt spot, and you're doing it and thinking about it a few moments or milliseconds before you actually step there. It gives you this flow of I'm stepping here, I'm stepping there, then you step there, then you step there. And you continually do that. Now, in order to do that, you need to have your body be relaxed. If you're all tensed up in panic mode, you won't be able to do it. You'll do it for a little while, but not for very long. So adding all of these things up, having a relaxed body, relaxed mind, focusing on the dirt between the rocks, and then allowing your brain to think faster than your body. And it's a pretty amazing thing where you can be running and be thinking about where you're going to step, and your body and your feet just step there. So you're essentially looking, I'm going to step here, I'm going to step there, I'm going to step there. And you're telling your mind where your body is going to step, and your body then does it. Again, this is one of those things where it maybe sounds kind of weird, like, I can't do that. I have to tell my body where it's going to step. But the more relaxed you are, you're able to actually think faster and your body can move. And that gives you the ability to kind of plan very quickly, of course, milliseconds, but you're able to plan where you're going to be stepping, and your body will just do it. If you look at these techniques so far, relaxing the body, breathing, keeping a short stride so you're staying upright, you're not overextending, you're relaxing your body, you're focusing on the trail ahead of you, and then planning very quickly where you're going to be stepping. This can become very meditative because it's a rhythm of the 90 beats per minute, the breathing, the focusing on the terrain, focusing on the dirt between the rocks. So this is how I get into a flow state. Some people call it being in the zone or having, being in the rhythm of things. But a flow state is where you're fully immersed in an activity. It's characterized by focus, being intensely concentrated on the task at hand, enjoyment, feeling energized and fully involved in the activity, time distortion, losing track of time or experience an altered sense of time, sense of control, feeling in control of the situation, reduced self-consciousness, being free from self-referential thinking, such as worrying or self-reflection. I mean, isn't that really what trail running feels like? When you get to that point where you're in that flow state and it can be uphill, downhill, technical trail, it doesn't matter. You're just flowing and your body is responding and you just, I don't know how else to describe it, but it definitely puts me in a flow state. Technique number 5, use mental visualization to maintain that flow state and avoid pulling your focus away from the trail. To help keep me in the flow state, zone, rhythm, whatever you prefer to call it, I use mental visualization. In my mind, I picture a river and me flowing like that river down the trail. It's important to not let your eyes get pulled away from the trail, especially if the trail is very technical. Mental visualization. So what I mean by that is when I'm on a technical trail, I've chosen the visualization of a river that is flowing down the trail. I picture myself as that river flowing down the trail. So if I look down the trail, I see a natural flow of where I want to go. So as I begin to run down the trail, I am flowing down the trail. For me, the visualization helps me stay inside of that flow state. It helps me relax my body, relax my mind, keeps me so I'm not tensing up and jumping from side to side. I'm just flowing. It's graceful. It's flowing down. Now, obviously, there's waterfalls and things like that, but the picture I have in mind is this flowy river, and it's just flowing from side to side. And it's important that when you're on the trail that you keep your eyes focused, because in a technical section in particular, you want to be very careful that you're not being distracted. In the early days, I learned this the hard way. In the early days, I'm a friendly person. I like to say hi to everybody. So I would see people on the trail. And for whatever reason, I wanted to make eye contact with them. I wanted to look up, say hi, and then back to the trail. I can't tell you how many times I've wiped out right in front of people because I would take my focus off of the technical trail, say hi, trip on something, and fall right in front of them. Yes, it's embarrassing, and you learn by embarrassment. The key here is to keep your focus on the trail. I still say hi to people these days, but I don't take my eyes off the trail. Technique number 6. If and when you trip, we all trip, just slow yourself down and regain your confidence. If you find yourself thinking about tripping or falling, slow yourself down or even walk for a bit to regain your confidence. Thinking about falling or being concerned about falling is definitely a reduction in confidence. So as you slow yourself down, think through the techniques, and you can start then building up your speed while maintaining that confidence. What you think about is usually what happens. So rather than thinking about falling or tripping, use your mental visualization. Think about that river as you flow down the trail. Visualizing a river flowing will keep your mind occupied and not thinking about tripping and falling. That, with the reduction in speed, will help you gain back your confidence so that you can increase your speed again. Your mind is extremely powerful, so what you think about usually happens. This is why I avoid conversations about injury when I'm running. With time and practice, you'll be able to flow over rocks, roots, trees, and whatever else the trail throws at you. just as a river does. As these techniques become second nature, you'll see your endurance increase and your effort decrease. Technique number 6 is about how you react when you fall. Not if you fall, but when you fall. We all fall, and when you run technical trails, you can't help it. There's times where, it's just going to happen. So when you fall or when you trip, it's going to impact your confidence. You're going to have some doubt. You were doing so well, you were cruising, you were flowing, and all of a sudden you trip. It's going to impact your confidence. If you're exhausted with low confidence, that's about the worst situation, one of the worst situations you can be in on technical trail. You're just going to continue to fall, continue to trip, and so forth. So the key there is to gain back that confidence. All the techniques up to this point have really been focusing on the other side of it, which is reducing exhaustion. So becoming very efficient in how you run technical trails. So when you fall, when you trip, obviously that confidence is going to be hit a bit. To get that back, you're going to want to slow down, depending on how much confidence you lost. Maybe you need to stop, sit down for a little bit, kind of regroup yourself, and then start back up. In most cases, if it's a trip and you caught yourself, it wasn't serious, you didn't hurt yourself, it just more or less impacted your confidence level. So what you want to do is just slow down after you've tripped and fell. Just slow down, kind of think through the techniques, one after the other, relax the body, get that back. Can focus on the dirt between the rocks, and then start building it back up. So it can be short, depending on how severe the trip was. If it was a pretty nasty one and you're kind of shaken up about it, just slow it down and maybe start with a walk. Do that for a few minutes. Maybe start a jog at that point, and then do that until you start feeling more comfortable again. Sometimes it could take quite a while to gain that back, depending on, again, how severe the fall was. The key there is just to get confidence back. Once you're confident, then you can run through technical trails. But like I said, from a safety standpoint, exhaustion with low confidence is a recipe for disaster when running technical trails. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It will help YouTube determine what other like-minded people to share it with. On your next run, I'd suggest trying to find some technical trails or trails with technical sections on them to try some of these techniques. Getting efficient at these will only come with practice and repetition. At the beginning, don't try to apply all the techniques at once. Choose one or two and focus just on those, and then add more over time, until they all feel natural. I have one advanced training technique that I'd like to share with you. It's a test to determine how well you're adopting these techniques. It's advanced because there is quite a bit of risk involved. So please only attempt it once you're ready to assume the risk. My test is to drink from my water bladder while I'm running through a technical section. So what I do is I start with a very deep breath to relax my body, think about my shoulders, make sure that my body's loose before I approach the technical section. Then as I move into the technical section, I make sure that I'm scanning the trail in front of me, locating the dirt spots or the flat spots on the rocks. My body stays relaxed and my mind is also relaxed. I then grab my tube from my water bladder, and I drink some water. In order to do that, you can't be in panic mode. You can't be freaking out. To be able to do that, you have to think very quickly. You have to be able to think about the water, think about the trail, think about the water, think about the trail very rapidly, and doing that faster than your feet are moving so that you're preventing yourself from tripping. So for me, that is my way to judge whether I'm actually mastering these techniques or not. How about you? Any of these techniques resonate with you? Any of them that you use today? Are there others that you use that have worked well for you? I'd love to hear about them. So please add them to the comments below and let's get a conversation going. Thanks for watching. If you are new to trail running and looking for more tips and techniques, please check out the running videos in my trail running tips and techniques playlist. As I create more of these types of videos, I'll be adding them to that playlist. Until next time, find your path, live the adventure.